Welcome to CITC 2337 C Lias Lab for Lab 3.1 Configuration of DNS. In this lab, we'll be installing DNS on Server A, configuring Server A as a secondary DNS server for class2050.com. We'll create the DNS zone student.class2050.com on Server B. We'll delegate the zone for student.class2050.com to Server B from Server DC. Then we'll make Server B a stub zone for class2050.com, and we'll configure Server B to forward all the queries to Server A. For configuration of DNS, we would have to install DNS onto our servers, and this is Server A, and we just installed DNS onto Server A, and that will be under Manage, Add Roles and Features, and then we would just check the DNS server there to install it. The next thing we'll be doing is configuring Server A as a secondary DNS server for class2050.com domain. And what we'll be doing is going over to our Server DC. And just going into our Server Manager, going to Tools, DNS, and we'll be adding our servers. So just click this, DNS, connect to DNS server, and then do this following computer. And let's just type Server A. And there we go. We have Server A added to our DNS manager on Server DC. The next thing we'll be doing once we have it added is creating a new zone within Server A. So for forward lookup zone, we'd have to right click it and do new zone. Next. And then click secondary. Next. And then for naming this zone, we'll be naming it class2050.com. And we're getting next. Then for the IP address, we just want to type in our domain controller, so 10.1.1.1, and next, finish. And let's just see real quick. DNS zone not loaded by DNS server, encountered problem. For us to do this now, we would have to go over to our Server DC, into forward lookup zones, into class2050 properties, and we would have to set up and configure the properties real quick. So inside of here, we would have to select the zone transfer, and then allow zone transfers, and then only to server listed on the name servers tab, which is this tab right here. So let's go ahead and click this, name servers, and from here we would just want to click add, and we would just be adding our Server A. So let's go ahead and type in the IP address, 10.1.1.11, resolve, and the IP address is not authoritative for the required zone, which that is fine. Okay, apply, and okay. And then next thing we'll be doing is in Server A, we'll be right clicking class2050 again, and go to properties. Well, actually, it's transfer from master, not for properties. And that should work if everything's all configured correctly inside of our class2050 properties. So name servers, name, apply, class2050, transfer from master, and then we just want to refresh this real quick. It should be good. Yep, as you can see, it just changed. Instead of being not loaded, it's now obviously loading. So this part is finished. Let's move on to the next part. For this next part, we'll be configuring the DNS zone student.class2050.com onto Server B. So we're still in the Server DC DNS manager, and we just want to add Server B to our DNS manager. So let's connect to DNS, this following, and then do Server B, connect, and then there we go, we just added it. Now we just want to go and right click forward lookup zone into your new zone. Next. And then we want to leave primary, the default checked. Then next. And then we want to create a new zone name, and that will be our student.class2050.com. Then next. And then we'll be creating a new file name. So this is already set up for us, and just hit next. Do not allow dynamic updates, and finish. For this next file, we'll be delegating the zone for student.class2050.com to server B from server DC. So let's expand server DC and expand forward lookup zones. Then right click class2050.com and create new delegation. Hit next. The delegation domain, let's type student. And then you can see the fully qualified domain name below. Hit next. And then in here, we just want to add, and let's add our server B since we're delegating it to it. So let's type server B, see if it will resolve, and it does, and then hit OK. Finish. For this next part, we're making server B a stub zone for class2050.com domain. So inside of the server DC DNS manager, we want to expand server B and go to the forward lookup zone and right click it and do new zone. Next, and then from here you just want to check stub zone. Next, and then for the zone name we want to type class2050.com. Next, and then just leave the default. That's going to create a new file. And then with the IP address, we're just going to type our 10.1.1.1 and then OK, and then validated. Next, finished, and there we have it. Our stub zone is configured, and you can see the type stub, and everything is set up. For this part of the video, we're just going to configure server B to forward all the queries to server A. So in order to do that, we just want to go over to server B and right click it and do properties and do forwarders and then edit and then add the IP address of server A to which we want to forward queries to. So 10.1.1.11, and it's just going to take a minute and just hit OK, apply. Okay, and everything should be set up. And for this last part of the video, we're just going to be using the DNS command to verify our configurations on all of our DNS servers. So right now we're currently in a command prompt on server DC, and so let's go ahead and do the DNS command real quick. The first thing we want to do is do DNS command server a.class2050.com/info, and that'll show us results of everything relating to the information of the DNS on server A, and then you can do the same thing for server B, and it'll show you the information relating to it. And then we can do another thing, and that is enum zones, and that will just show you all the zones that are on that DNS server. So let's see, it's server A zones, and it came up with class2050.com, which is a secondary. So server A has a secondary zone on it, and then let's go ahead and do the second DNS server, and you can see that server B has class2050.com, which is a stub zone, and student.class2050.com, which is a primary zone. And that's about it for verifying our DNS configurations. And in review, we installed DNS on server A. We configured server A as a secondary DNS server for the class2050.com domain. We created a DNS zone student.class2050 on server B. We delegated the zone for student.class2050 to server B. We made server B a stub zone, and we configured server B to forward all the queries to server A.